Good evening, Patriots. Welcome. I know it's Saturday night. I know it's late, but we're here and we're going to talk about some stuff because Elon Musk and the Twitter scandal just keeps dropping bomb after bomb. Again, I'm Ryan Samuels. This is the Ryan Samuels Show, where we talk about American politics and constitutional rights. This Twitter scandal is one of the worst scandals ever exposed in American history. We have federal agents, we have politicians silencing their opposition using their federal powers. This is a gross violation of your constitutional rights. So if you've ever been suspended, you ever been taken it down, and it's at the direction of the federal government on any social media site, that is a violation of your constitutional rights. And today, I don't know if you guys heard, I posted it. They dropped another bomb and they released the footage. Well, not the footage. They released all the inside Twitter files on January 6th. So we're going to go over that a little bit. Don't forget to leave your comments there if you have any questions or if you just want to say hello. And I'm going to share a link if you want to come on and have a discussion or get your feelings out. Let me get this. So right now we're streaming everywhere: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Rumble, the whole shebang bang. So I just put the link down below. So this has been big news for like a week, and the mainstream media hasn't even touched it, right? Except for maybe Fox News, they touched it. But this is as big as Watergate, if not worse. So what's going on? What's going on? That's the question. Is the federal government, this is a question, not an accusation, is the federal government doing this across all social media sites? Are they doing this on Google, right? When you go to search something, are they restricting factual information that they don't want you to see and promoting information that they want you to see? That's the question. Guys, if you have been following me for any amount of time, I've been doing this for 2 years. I am not a conspiracy theorist at all. I don't buy into it ever. But in this situation, the evidence is there and the evidence is clear. It's crystal clear, and nobody wants to acknowledge it or say anything. And that is a major problem. I'm going to pull up the Twitter feed while I'm talking. So I know it's Saturday night. I know it's late. Party on if you're partying. All right, let me open this up. Let me see if I can get this pulled up on the screen. I know that I can. So I go back to my alerts. I posted it on my Facebook page, a direct link to this story. Number one thread. Here we go. Come on, baby. All right, so the Twitter files, part 4. Share window. I'm going to see if I could do this. Hold on one second. Let me get this set up. So now they got a new reporter that is released in the House Part 4. So what I really love, what Elon Musk is doing, is he's using independent journalists. He's not using mainstream media. He's not using any of the people that we just don't trust. Well, that I guess he don't trust, or maybe he's got some more inside information about who's actually involved. And I think that that's a valid question. If he's withholding this from and giving it to independent journalists, then maybe he knows something that we don't. Let me put my logo up there. Yeah. All right. I'm going to read it because I know it's small. Let me see if I could zoom in and make it a little bit easier for you guys to see. All right. So this is coming from Michael Schellenberger. Pro-Citizen Time for the Environment, best-selling author, Apocalypse Never. This is coming from. So let's start at the top. I kind of been looking at it, and I'm going to skip some parts that obviously just aren't that big of a deal. So again, he does a preamble. Twitter Files Part 4, the removal of Donald Trump, January 7th. As the pressure builds, Twitter executives build the case for a permanent ban. Facebook's suspension of Trump now puts Twitter in an awkward position. If Trump does indeed return to Twitter, the pressure on Twitter will ramp up to find a pretext on which to ban him as well. And then they're tagging each other, so they're promoting each other. Man, these guys are blowing up. These journalists went from like having a few, maybe 100,000 followers. They're up in the millions now, and rightfully so. I mean, this is a massive story. And the put the responsibility on their own shoulders, so they hide behind an ever-changing rule book. So basically, what they're saying is that they kind of are making their own rules as they go along, as it pertained to Twitter and conservatives. Now, you know, they always say that conservatives are the party of fascism. You know, however, ooh, I didn't see this. Facebook suspension of Donald Trump. That, you know, the conservatives are the party of fascism, and we're the big government people, and we're the big business people. Yet big business donates 98% more times to Democratic parties than the conservative parties. So if they're in so well with big business, why aren't they getting all their money? Why are the Democrats donating all the money to all these big businesses? I mean, why are these big businesses donating all the money to the Democratic Party if the Conservative Party is the party of big business? These are just things that just don't make any sense, right? So these files have been released about suspension on Twitter. Scroll up. Click on. Still learning how to use Twitter. I haven't been on it for years, ever. I just got on it, so bear with me. The evening of January 7th, the same junior employee who expressed an unpopular opinion about ad hoc decisions that don't appear speaks up one last time before the end of the day. So there's people in Twitter actively resisting this. There's people in Twitter who are actively fighting against this, saying This is wrong. This is a sitting president of the United States, the head of a state. I mean, they still have King Jong-un on Twitter and Hezbollah and terrorist organizations on Twitter. But emails, they talk about how they literally have a Nazi in the White House, which plays a role in banning the account. Think what you want to think about Donald Trump. Listen, I know I had Donald Jr. on yesterday. I love Donald Jr. I never met Donald Trump. Donald Jr. gave me a shout out on my podcast yesterday. I shared that on my page too. Say whatever you want. The guy's got a lot of faults. I think we all know that, but he's not a Nazi. That's the most ridiculous comparison I've ever heard of in my entire life. There is zero evidence that Donald Trump is a racist at all. Besides, the only thing that had me concerned was the Nick Fuentes situation. But Kanye West brought Nick Fuentes to the dinner, right? He's the white supremacist that Donald Trump literally had dinner with a white supremacist. Kanye West brought him there unbeknownst to the president, and he was his guest. He was his +1 for this event and introduced him. So he had no idea. Now, I still don't know how that got around security, but that's the part that's concerning for me. But other than that, I mean, Joe Biden saying if you vote for Trump, you ain't black. Joe Biden giving eulogies to KKK members. And I'm not saying that Joe Biden's a flagrant racist either, but there's more evidence to suggest with Joe Biden than there is or ever was with Donald Trump. So in Twitter, they feel that they have a literal Nazi. Let me open this up and see if this fits the screen. This might be your opinion, but one-off ad hoc decisions like this that don't appear rooted in policy are, in my humble opinion, I'm going to assume the IMHO means that, a slippery slope and reflect alternatively equally editorial problem. This now appears to be a flat by an online program. Oh, Jesus. This now appears to be a fiat by an online CEO with a global presence that can gatekeep speech for the entire world, which seems unsustainable. So these Twitter files have repeatedly stated that a lot of this was done without the knowledge of Jack Dorsey. Jack Dorsey was the CEO of Twitter. Now, you, my followers, or hit me up in the comments, you don't believe that Jack Dorsey wasn't involved in this, and that you believe that he was part of this and was keeping himself out of it. I mean, that may be. We just don't know. When Donald Trump was banned, he was conveniently on vacation. So, I mean, did he go on vacation to keep himself out of that? I mean, I don't know. You just don't know. I mean, maybe more will come out as they release more files. But the journalists who now have unfiltered access to all of Twitter's files are now saying that every indication shows that Jack Dorsey basically just didn't know what was going on with it, that he wasn't fully in the loop. I mean, obviously, though, and the only question I have, you're the CEO of the company. They're about to ban the president of the United States, the acting president of the United States. Nobody ran that by you? I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. I think that he had to have known. I mean, I've had bosses in the past, and if I'm going to do something that's going to cause waves or whatever, you got to let your boss know so that he can handle the fallout and make sure that he agrees. The employee notes that later in the day and will Remus noticed the inconsistency too. Looking to an article for 1-0 at Medium called Facebook chucked its own rule book to ban Trump. And Twitter did. You see the consistencies, which is what I was talking about. We have proof at Twitter that the federal government was involved itself into a private company using its power and its influence to silence citizens, celebrities, and now the president of the United States. This is not a conspiracy at Twitter. It is a fact that has been proven. But all of the actions that Twitter is taking, all of the other social media platforms are taking too. So if they were all done at Twitter by the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI directing them to take down certain tweets or directing them to remove certain people they consider a danger while leaving up dictators who murder people and Hezbollah and terrorist organizations. But anybody who resists or has questions about an election with more votes in American history than ever is banned, suspended, all at the direction of the federal government. That is the most clear violation of the First Amendment that I've ever seen, ever heard of, ever imagined. This is stuff that you read in fantasy books, like 1984. This isn't America. That's not how America operates. You are free to say whatever you feel without interference from government persecution. Yes, if you're a podcaster like I am, and this is your business, this is your livelihood, and the federal government comes in and influences the business that you're platforming to shut you down because they don't like what you say, that's a violation of free speech. That's a violation of your pursuit of happiness. Now, there's a difference if you're actively calling for acts of violence and promoting acts of violence and organizing acts of violence to commit crimes and hurt people. Then they can intervene because you're violating the rights of another. But expressing your opinion is not violating the rights of anybody. The underlying problem, let me see if I can zoom in just a little bit more. The underlying problem, writes at Will or Remus, they all have the weirdest names on earth at Twitter. The underlying problem is that the dominant platforms have always been loath to own up to subjectivity because it highlights the extraordinary, unfettered power they wield over the public square and places the responsibility for that power on their own shoulders. So they hide behind an ever-changing rule book. Alternatively, pointing to it when it's convenient, shoving it under the nearest rug when it isn't. So they linked an article. Facebook's suspension of Trump now puts Twitter in an awkward position. It wasn't Twitter that did it first, right? It was Facebook, I believe. Facebook's suspension now puts the Twitter in an awkward position. If Trump does indeed return to Twitter, the pressure on Twitter will ramp up to find a pretext on which to ban him as well. They're actively searching for reasons. They have policies, they have guidelines of their community standards, right? He's not violating any. Donald Trump is not violating any of them. They can't find reasons that to suspend him or ban him, so they're actively searching to create reasons to ban him. They're looking at his behavior, they're looking what he's saying on Twitter, and then they're creating rules that will force him to violate the rules, and now they have a reason to ban him. So, how do we fix this? Right? That's a good question. If you have the answer, you have a suggestion, put it in the comments. And the link is also in the comments if you want conversation, as always, even though nobody has yet to take me up on it. Doesn't matter who you are, what your opinion is, come on the show and we can have discussion. I lost my whole train of thought by sharing a link. See, guys, I cannot I do two things at once. It's just not in my blood. So Donald Trump is running for president in 2024. He is running. It's going to happen. He already said that he is him winning. What is the likelihood of Donald Trump winning? So there's a couple things he has going for him. Number one, he's a former president of the United States. That's always on your side. That's a very powerful thing to be. I love this mug. Well done is better than well said. Thomas Jefferson, my favorite founding father, by far. Donald Trump's running for president in 2024. Now, he ran immediately. I think it was the day after the midterm. So legally, he has to wait to announce because it could affect the midterm election. So there's election laws that you can't announce that you're running for president. So he did it instantly. Why did he do it instantly? Typically, that is recommended against. So people on the left will say that he's doing it instantly because they're about to come down with indictments on Donald Trump, which I don't see it there. It's not there. Maybe they have things I don't know about. From what I'm looking at, they don't have enough to arrest a former president and put him on trial and put him in jail. It's a joke. But that's what the left is saying. Some people are on the right are saying they don't want other people to run against them. So if you know a former president of the United States is going to run again for president who's already previously been elected for president, it's going to be hard to beat that person, right? They're already experienced in the job. They've already done the job. Number one, they've been through the election process and they won as president. Nobody else has ever done that who's running against them. There's no other former presidents alive who would be eligible to run, except for Bush Sr., who passed away. It was the last one. So why did he run so early? I think that's the answer. Is he wants to send a message. He doesn't want Ron DeSantis running. I think Ron DeSantis would take a lot of votes away from Donald Trump. That's the reality of it. Ron DeSantis is very loved by America. He's very loved by Republicans. Moderate people will fit in. They fit into his message. He had the entire state of Florida is red. This is a huge state you need to win. One of the many swing states you need to win to become president of the United States. He owns Florida. If he runs, he wins Florida. It's a lock. It's done. There's only 3 counties that voted blue in Florida in the midterms. He even flipped Miami-Dade County, which is full of a very large Hispanic immigrant community who typically vote Democrat. So that's a testament about Ron DeSantis and his performance in Florida. Now, while the entire country was locked down for the C word, and they were forced to produce I almost said the V word. Don't say the V word. Don't say the V word, Ryan. Don't say it. You know, the poke. And you had to bring a passport for the poke, the pokey passport, if you wanted to eat dinner at a restaurant in all these other states. I live in Florida. Florida was wide open the entire time. The only issue you had is if you went to a corporate place like a Walmart or a Target, and their corporate rules mandated that you wear the ski mask, code words, wear the ski mask, and but the rest of the mom and pop shops and walking into City Hall, nobody gave a shit. Everybody's walking around with no masks. And Florida had one of the lowest rates of death in the country while it's wide open. So I think Americans were fed up with that across the country, and then they see what's happening in Florida. And of course, the mainstream media was presenting it as if it's just a death camp. And now these people are flying to other states, and then you couldn't fly out of Florida without the poke. So, but I think now what we're seeing with the results of the protections that they put in place and the things that the head doctor were saying just aren't adding up to most citizens. So that's going to play a role too, how he handled that situation, how he's handled tropical storms and hurricanes, and he's done a lot of great things. Plus, this is his last term. He's got 2 years, and then he can run for president. So this is his time. There's also other people. You're talking, Marco Rubio's basically every presidential election. Doesn't really get anywhere. Jeb Bush ran last time, which I would love to see Jeb Bush run again. But the polls came out on Trump. And I know the polls were out there in 2016 too, and they were just completely wrong. But the polls came out, and he has a 34% likability rating with the entire country. That means 34 out of every 100 people like him. And you guessed it, 76 hate his guts. So that's going to be challenging to overcome, but he has a lot of time. But in that time, trying to overcome that, he's going to be he's going to face a lot of problems. So the Trump organization, not Donald Trump, the Trump organization, the guy's a multi-billionaire. He owns many organizations, and they all have his name on it because he's a branding expert. He wants the Trump name everywhere. It's on his plane. It's on his helicopter, Trump Force One. The Trump company got hit with a tax, some sort of tax law where they were misappropriating tax funds. Do you really think Donald Trump, when he's running for president and doing all this stuff, and all these other people are running his companies, do you think he's looking over the taxes of an apartment complex in Manhattan? Or do you think he has people to do that for him? I mean, let's be honest. I mean, let's be real. So they were busted for that. They didn't go to a court and be found guilty, but they found something wrong, right? The IRS did. Imagine that. A branch of the government going after somebody they don't like. Seems like it happens every day. So they're going to find everything they can to blow up and make him look bad. The mainstream media is in cahoots to strike him down, to push him down. Now, you got to question, if the federal government was influencing social media to do that, are they also influencing the media? Do we live in a society with a state media? Is the media a proxy for government propaganda? I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I sound nuts. But now that the Twitter thing is rock-clad solid, that the federal government was interfering with individual liberties and free speech and controlling the flow of information and hiding things they didn't want you to know and promoting things that they wanted you to know and promoting things that they wanted you to see. Now that we saw that with Twitter, and we see the pattern, the same pattern on Twitter is across all social media sites. It's across all big technology, but it's also in the mainstream media. So is it all connected? It's just a question, not an accusation. I'm not going to say anything definitively until I see the proof. I said the same thing about Twitter. I said the same thing about Facebook, although I will say Facebook is very fair. I've talked to many podcasters, conservatives who are more extreme than I am, and they're very fair to them too. I have 72,000 followers now, and Facebook, they leave me alone. I say a lot of fringe things. I mention a lot of things. If I mention the C word, the thing we had back in 2020 that came from China. If I mention that, they just put a thing on it that says this is COVID information. They don't block it and black it out and hide it or delete it or suspend me or ban me, right? They're fair. They're more fair than anybody else. I could tell you that. YouTube, rip you off. 3-strike rule. If you're live streaming, I know somebody. He was just on my show, Matt Spears from Don't Unfriend Me. podcast was just on my show because he got banned from Twitter. Not from Twitter, excuse me, because he got banned from YouTube. Do you know why he got banned from YouTube? He didn't say anything wrong, actually. He didn't say anything at all. He live streamed a speech from Donald Trump. So Donald Trump is speaking about the election blank, right? What he feels is election blank. And they banned his account for violation of the social media policy. Now, obviously, he doesn't know what this guy's going to say. It's live. He's speaking, but he's responsible for that because he's putting it through the channel. So they're controlling the flow of information. There are certain things you cannot say, which is why I have to speak in code, or they'll take it down on YouTube, right? But like I said, Facebook is very fair. That's a very honest assessment, and that's why on Facebook I have 72,000 followers, and on YouTube I have 100 subscribers. It's the same time, same content, same everything. So what does that tell you? I mean, what does that tell you? I mean, maybe people who watch YouTube think my stuff sucks, and that's okay. Some people do. I'm obviously biased to that, but looks like we got a comment here. Hello from Michigan, where the snow's starting to fly. Hey, Cheryl, how are you? Thanks for stopping in. I'm glad that you were in the snow and I'm not. Now, in all honesty, I'll tell you, one thing that I miss now that I'm in Florida is I do miss the snow. It's weird. I hated the snow. I was born and raised in New York on Long Island, grew up in the snow, played in the snow. Now that I have children of my own and it's December and I'm sweating, I'm like, man, I just wish I had a little bit of cold. Just want a little bit of cold. I'm not acclimated to, 180-degree heat. Like in the summertime, I don't even go outside. I sit in the AC and my wife's like, let's go to the beach. I'm like, you're out of your mind. It's too hot. It's too hot. You can't get anything done. You can't do anything. Can't do any yard work. Can't do nothing. But I do miss the snow. I would like to see it one more time. I wish it just snowed like once a year. Just like a foot. Just a foot of snow one day a year. And everybody was off and everybody had fun. Cecil, Facebook fair. Yeah, Facebook is fair. In my opinion, other people don't think so. I see it every day. They took this comment down. They took that down. Maybe because I have a what they consider a large following, I get treated differently. I can't answer that. I don't know. But what I do know is that for me, they've been fair. Now, there have been things that I've shared that they've taken down and said it was a violation of their community standards. And then I look at it. So I shared one, and it was a bunch of Nazis giving the Nazi salute, and then there was a guy standing in the middle with his arms crossed, and it said it was circled. It said, "Be this guy." They flagged that for terrorist, hate speech, propaganda, whatever. But that's not what the picture's saying. The picture's saying, "Don't be that. Don't be those other guys. Stand up against those guys." That's what the picture's saying. So, but everything they do is automated with all these technology companies. They just scroll through. They have bots that scroll through, find it, take it down. And then they're like, oh, you're in violation, but then you can attest it, right? So that's what I did. I attested it, and then they reinstated it, and the picture went back on. So let me see here. Cecil, Facebook fair. How long have you been drinking? Facebook is punks, losers, need to get lives, but I would love to see the worst thing happen to all. Cecil, I don't know what you're saying. I'm going to send you a link, Cecil. I want you to click on it so you can come on the show. I want to talk to you. It's right there under your comment. I would love to understand what you're saying because I have no idea. Although it is Saturday night, some people have been partying, and I'm going to read that again because maybe I'm just out of my mind. Fake book fair. How long have you been drinking? Fake book is punks, losers, need to get lives, but I would love to see the worst thing happen to all. I'm going to put this up here so everybody could see. Fake book fair. How long have you been drinking? The fake book is punks, losers, need to get lives, but I'd love to see the worst thing happen to all. Cecil, I sent you a link. Come on, man, I want to talk to you. Hit the link. Come on the show. That's pretty interesting. Jim thinks it's funny. So do I. Jim, crying emoji. So anyway, I can't even think right now. But to me, they have been, right. So some of you may disagree. That's fine. But from what I've experienced, it's been okay. Apple Podcasts, I haven't had any issues. I've published stuff. I'm very concerned that something will come of that. But again, nothing. Spotify, Amazon, Audible. So I guess it really just depends, right? But back to my, so let me circle back. Let me Jen Psaki this and circle back to my comments. But is this also happening at the mainstream media? Obviously, we're not going to know. We're never going to know. The mainstream media has been lockstep in narrative for years, because here's the thing, that what the mainstream media has become is they are nothing but an organization that gives out the information provided to them by the government. I mean, the government has a monopoly on, number one, information. They also have a monopoly on violence. But if there's an incident, if there's a terrorist incident or something, the president has a press conference, and then all of the media gets together and then they regurgitate what he says, and they never question it. They just spew the information out. And sometimes they twist it, turn it, most of the times, to make it sound more extreme and more severe so that they get more views and make more money through advertisements. Cecil, you doing okay, bud? So, do you guys think Donald Trump's going to win the presidency in 2024? Does anybody think that? Let me open the window up. But the thing is, YouTube comment. No, I don't. I don't think he has a chance. I think he needs to step down and let somebody else run. Yeah, I mean that's a good point. That's a good point. We'll see how. I mean, we'll see how it goes. We'll see what it is. What my biggest fear is, we're going to have a situation where you're going to have Donald Trump in the primaries. Man, I'm still, listen, I'm trying to figure out how to position this microphone where it doesn't block my face, and there's just no way to do it, and it's just frustrating. Yeah. Yeah, who knows how Cecil's doing? He'll be all right. Hey, Mike, how are you? Welcome on, buddy. I didn't mean to call him out. I mean, he put the comment in there. I don't know what he's saying, but it's 11 o'clock at night on a Saturday. Maybe Cecil's just been throwing him back. I don't know. Good for him. America. My biggest fear is we're going to have Donald Trump run, and then DeSantis is going to run, and you're going to split the whole party, and everybody's going to lose, and we're going to be stuck with frickin' Biden again. That's my biggest fear. Jim, I'd rather see Ron DeSantis get the nomination, man. A lot of people feel that way. Oh, Cecil's back. Excuse me, Jim. I'll be right with you. I'm asking you how long you've been Drink Fake Book is the worst as all the fake media and anyone support them. Oh, wish ISIS would come to the United States and remove all their heads along with all communist Democrats. That's an interesting comment, Cecil. All right. Cecil, click the link, dude. I want to find out who you are. I want to talk to you. You seem like an interesting character who's very passionate about his view. Click the link, Cecil. Click it. Yeah, Mike, I think you got the right point. I think he explained it. So, um, I'm distracted now. I'm a little flustered from Cecil, but I appreciate you being Cecil, and I really do appreciate your input, man. So, thanks for stopping in. I sent the link to you. It's right above your comment. Dude, click the link. Come on, I gotta talk to you. You seem like an interesting guy. So, the I've just I've fought against conspiracy theories my whole life. I got to have the facts. I got to have the primary sources. I got to have all the information. But the the way that this appears is that it appears a lot worse than it really is, guys. It appears that our worst fears are coming true. And the the thought of that is terrifying. I mean, I how did our country get this far? How did the federal government get so much power? Why do we have a federal agency named after alcohol, tobacco, and firearms? Three things that are all legal, right? That should be the name of a liquor store. Alcohol, tobacco, firearms. Like that's a very convenient place where I can get the three things I enjoy. So, I mean, the amount of federal agencies. So now, I don't know if you heard this statistic that came out that we now have more armed federal agents than United States Marines. So there are more armed federal agents than there are Marines in the Marine Corps right now. And the Marine Corps is used for foreign enemies. Federal agents are used against you. So that's an interesting thing to think about. Is that warranted, or is the government just completely out of control and overfunded, and they're trying to figure out how to spend all this money they had? I mean, they're taking 30 to 40 to 50% of everybody's paycheck. Then on top of that, you got to pay a tax on everything you buy. You want to buy a Coke, yeah, that'll be 7%. You want to buy property, they hit you for, depending where you are in the U.S. When I lived in New York, my property taxes were like 12 grand a year, $1,000 a month. Where's that going? And then gasoline is taxed, right? Then they have a vice tax on cigarettes and booze and beer, driving up the price. So it doesn't matter. You're triple, double, quadruple taxed. And it's, what are they doing with all this money? Number one, they're not doing a damn thing. They're frivolously spending it on crap that doesn't matter. They're sending it to foreign countries. I mean, they sent more money to Ukraine than we spent on the war in Afghanistan. That's a fact. Google it. We spent over a decade in Afghanistan, and they spent more money helping Ukraine. And you wonder why Putin hasn't blown it over yet? So, how do we fix this situation is the question. The question is, how do we fix this situation? We have the media not reporting the Twitter story, not reporting the federal government, right? And you can fix this. We can fix this. There are steps that we can take to fix this. It's just nobody wants to take the time to do it. And I'm not talking about a violent uprising or anything like that. I do not do that. I am not recommending that. And that would only be recommended under very extreme circumstances, which we are not even close to. Simple things. The majority of the country is very confused by this. They're very angry that the federal government is silencing people's speech. That's real. If all of them wrote their local congressman a nasty letter saying that they're going to vote them out of office if they don't take action against this, you're going to see some headway. But we don't do that in America. We get mad. We go on social media. I'm the biggest example. And we, cry and we complain and we don't take any action, right? So the left are very good at activism. So the left is very good at activism. They're very good at kicking and screaming, and the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So politicians are like, dude, shut up, go away. Yeah, we're going to do a Green New Deal. We aren't advocating violence like we're being accused of. Yeah, Jim, I agree. I've never really heard that. I mean, and I'm deeply involved with some with some people in the conservative movement, and I've never heard that. Right? I've never heard that one time. Though we need to do that, man. We need to take over the government. Like, dude, get out of here. That would be somebody I would not want around my family. Like, be gone, go away. Um, the the writing your congressman is an extraordinarily powerful tool that nobody utilizes. You don't have to sit down and write a letter. You can send an email now as a constituent. You can call the congressman and say, I have this problem that I want you to resolve. Why is the federal government silencing its using its power to silence citizens on social media? That is what they are there for. Your congressman represents you. They represent your area, your district. So if your congressman doesn't know you're pissed about it and you move on with your life and you don't care, then they're not going to think about it or act. What are they going to do when they get 100 letters from some freaking liberal environmental group about you need to increase gas prices, so you need to support the bill for gas tax so people don't use as much gas, which is just stupid. It just costs people more money. Then they get that. Then they get the pressure from them. But we never pressure the politicians. We never pressure the politicians. We never fight, not physically. We never fight the battle that needs to be fought. And that's activism. That's putting the pressure on the politicians, letting them know, dude, you represent me. My family's suffering because of the Build Back Better Act. So what are you going to do as my representative to handle it? And this is why you see, because the normal American citizen is not involved in politics. They're working. They're working. They're worried about feeding their family. They're maybe watching the news at night, but they're not deeply involved. They're not obsessed with it. They hear little tidbits. They talk about it with their friends. They comment their opinion on social media, and they move on with their life. But the leftists are their boots are on the ground every day. They're fighting. They're writing letters. They're causing scenes, and they're getting their way. Which is why you wind up with the country we have today, with massive taxes, unlivable taxes. You know, I'm on Facebook all day, every day. This is my job, right? I'm not a nerd, I swear. Okay, I'm a little bit of a nerd. And they're all on there. All the leftists, all the trolls are on there talking about, billionaires and how if you're a billionaire, you're unethical. And then I say, well, do you think it's unethical to tax everybody at 30 or 40 or 50%? And then, well, no, you have to tax the billionaires and then we won't have to pay taxes. Do you really think that's going to work? They just won an election because they promised they're going to tax the rich. Now they're taxing a $600 transaction on Venmo. I thought they were supposed to go after the rich. Michael, 100%, but they got to realize most Americans own more than one blank, and more Americans are teaching their children blank safety and skills early. Yeah, I mean that's your Second Amendment right, man, and you have every right. I can say gun. I just saying blank. I don't know why I said blank, but you have every right to use a firearm to protect your family. And it's important that people understand firearms and safety because they're out there. They're never going to go away. They're never going to go away. If they came out tomorrow and said, we're doing a blanket gun ban, no one's allowed to have guns. Well, it's going to happen to the millions of guns that are already in the country. They're just going to round them up. People are going to voluntarily bring them in. No, they're there. It's not going to, it's like, I think that's a great idea. We should try that with drugs. We should just make heroin illegal and cocaine and nobody will get it ever. Just make it illegal. Just ban it and outlaw it, and that'll get rid of it. Like, get the hell out of here. Old argument. Mike, thanks for the comment, man. I appreciate it. Mike or anybody else, if you have any questions or comments, I'll go over them with you while I continue to rant on about just where our country is going and where it's gone. The left just has such a massive advantage over the way that our society is. And nobody wants to hear that. And I say that, and everyone's like, no, the left's. I did a video called This Is Why the Left is Winning, and it got blown up. And, the conservatives, and they're all yelling at me, how could you say they're winning? How could you say they're winning? How do you even say that? Because, dude, they are winning. They're winning. They're winning the culture war. Your children go to school, and they get taught by leftists every day. 8 hours a day, 6 hours a day for 15 years, from first grade to high school, 12 years, 15 years, kindergarten, college. That's not even college. They're learning their philosophy every single day of their lives. Then they go to college and they learn it there. Then they become executives at Google and Facebook and push it down on the world. Right? They own the press. The right has 2 media outlets, one that nobody really even watches, Newsmax, and Fox News that everybody hates. But everything else, local news, national news, all left. So they have a constant flow of information, and now they've infiltrated the social media to where the government is actually mandating the flow of information. Yes, they're winning. That's a fact. That's because Gen Z grew up in this world. And forget, if you saw my red wave video, you know that the election laws were passed. I could go into that, but that would take up the entire freaking night. Just go back and watch the video of how they changed laws for the election. That had part of it to do with why there wasn't a red wave. It's just never happened before. You got a president with a 40% approval rating, and gas prices the highest in 40 years, inflation the highest in 40 years. People can't afford their groceries, and it's a red blip. It's because they changed the election laws. Go watch the red wave video. So how do we fix it? How do you fix this culture war that's gone so far out of our control? Conservatives don't want to be bothered with politics, because to a conservative, a true conservative, politics is easy. We want limited government. We want to be left alone. So we don't want to insert ourselves in a process where we're not going to be left alone. We want to live our lives with our families and enjoy it. And we don't really care what a celebrity's opinion is, but these kids these days do. Oh yeah, and I forgot, they also own Hollywood. So they go to school, learn all the liberal stuff. They watch television, to learn all the liberal stuff. They watch the Disney Channel, watch a Disney movie, watch just a normal Hollywood movie, and there's some woke moment in there. Netflix, Hulu, everybody has the same mentality. So now anybody that a conservative tries to speak to or tries to talk to, they're going to say, well, you're crazy. You're listening to one media outlet. Everybody else is saying this. So that's why they think you're nuts. Because this new generation, and this generation that is sucked into this one narrative, is so bought in, there's no changing it. And that's by design. Gas went down in your town, Mike? Let me see. Well, that's good. That's good. Maybe it has something to do with the oil reserves and them putting pressure on Biden, using the federal government to put pressure on private business. So, but let me see if I could turn this mic up. Does that change the sound? No? Can anybody hear me? So The the reason gas went up and the reason that all the prices went up is because the excess printing of money. That's all it is. That's all inflation is the excess printing of money. I can't hear myself on my headset. So enjoy your cheaper gas, but the only way to fix this problem is to take the extra money that they printed out of the system, and Trump did that too. You know, I'm not blaming it all on Biden because Trump did do stimulus checks and business checks. You know, small businesses because they shut the whole country down for no reason. We know now, or at least the evidence is pointing that way, but they'll never admit it. Still can't talk about it on the social media sites. We just want to run our business without the government hurting them. I'm too busy to get involved, and no one wants the attention for fear of being doxxed. Dude, that's what I'm saying, Jim. That's exactly what I'm saying, is that we just want to be left alone, and we want to live our lives. But we're in a situation where we're not going to have a country left if we don't start getting involved. If we don't start just writing emails to Congress people. Man, that is such a powerful tool. When a congressperson gets an email, they start freaking out. I've seen it. I've been involved in that. I was 19 years old. This is a story. I was 19 years old. I was going to college in John Jay College of Criminal Justice in Manhattan, New York. I was there. I was a full-time student. It wasn't for me. I was like, man, I'm just going to join the Marine Corps. So I joined the Marine Corps at the age of 20. So while I was on active duty, my student loans were supposed to be in deferment. I filed the deferment paperwork because it's not forgiveness. Nobody panic. I paid my bills. It's not forgiveness, but they just delay it. So they don't charge you any interest. And then you pay the full balance when you get out. Your payments start. They just extend it while you're in the military because in the military, you're not making any friggin' money. So they were supposed to be in deferment. They were never in deferment. They never filed the paperwork, the federal student loan system. So I got out of the Marine Corps. I was going to college. I was working on my bachelor's in political science and sociology with a minor in psychology. I was working on all of that stuff. And then all of a sudden, I filed my freaking taxes, and the federal government seized my entire tax return because they said I was in default of my student loans. And I said, well, no, they were supposed to be in deferment. So I called them. I fought them. I argued with them. I was pissed. I didn't like the government then either. But my college professor, one of my political science professors, said, write your congressman. I was like, dude, that's a waste of time over a freaking student loan. They're not going to give a shit. He said, write your congressman. I wrote him a letter, explained everything that happened. I got a letter back 3 days later, hand signed by him. Federal loan. All of my money was reinstated to me. They had to cut me a check, and they had to remove it from my credit report from the past 5 years. This is 20 years ago. Back then, you couldn't just go on a computer and run your freaking credit report like you could do on your credit card now. You just go to your credit card bill now. You can look at your credit score and your credit report. We didn't have Credit Karma, and we didn't have Experian, and I didn't have any of that crap back then. So I had no idea. I knew I had bad credit, but I was a young kid and I didn't really understand how credit worked. So this congressman removed everything. He was a Democrat. He was a Democrat, but he just did not want me being pissed off, running around the district, telling everybody that, I wrote this guy and he did nothing for me. It didn't help. He didn't do shit. So I learned that from a college professor. So write your congressman. If you're pissed off about Twitter and what the federal government did to Twitter, you need to write your congressman, and you need to tell your congressman that you are upset about it, that it's a violation of basic civil liberties. And I promise you, if you watch your congressman go up to the microphone, he's going to allude to it. Because guess who writes Congress people? Nobody really. Unless it's a left-wing activist organization. But if we start flooding the United States Congress with letters from our district, they're going to have to act because you're pressuring them. They're looking at this going, man, I got 400 letters today about this freaking Twitter scandal, but I got 10 about these people who want us to subsidize artwork. Like, this Twitter thing is going to bite me in my ass if I don't at least mention it. Because if they mention it, because I at least tried. But if you get the entire Congress on their toes about this crap, that's how you fix it. But we're not doing that. And I get it because we're busy. Cecil, you still here? Cecil, if you're here, I want you to type in there your top 3 presidents in American history. Write them. I'm curious to know. All right, let me check the news and let me go over that. News, politics. Google that and let's see. Anything about Twitter? Yep. Nope. Cinema ads intrigue. Democratic fury to Arizona's 2024 Senate race. Democratic fury. Kristen Sinema switches to independent. I did hear about that. I got to look into that more. I mean, the two-party system is they're not helping each other. Oh, Cecil's back. Ryan, I'm sorry to attack you, but I am sick of these fake news people and fake media groups. I'm sick of our so-called leaders. I have had many relatives fight for freedom. Well, I'm grateful for your relatives, Cecil. And every man and woman, I'm an old country boy, simple man, and yes, I got a man. It's long, it won't fit. And yes, I get man as a I got man as a child. We have no race and little hate. We had holiday that we said Merry Christmas to each other. So I apologize to you and your viewers. We need to come back to pray and beginning one people and get rid of government and FBI and Antifa and BLM. I have blood on my ancestors, but I will leave this alone. But as a child, lost all. And yes, we have a few bad people in law enforcement, but I never had no hate for them. I believe in my country. I did not write good, and I write even poorly. Cecil, top 3 presidents. Who's your favorite president in American history, Cecil? I'm not mad at you. I didn't think you were attacking me, but now I know. So we're forgiven, Cecil. I want to hear your top 3 presidents in American history. If you give me yours, I will give you mine. I promise. But that's just the main problem that I recognize. Now, am I sitting here saying it? Is anybody going to go do it? Probably not. I mean, I do it, but I feel like every time I write my congressman, they sit around and I go, oh, this guy again. I feel like the Karen at the grocery store or Karen at Target that they're making videos of. They're sitting around reading my letters like, get a load of this guy because I'm the only one. I think Cecil means well too, Jim. I like Cecil, man. I want Cecil to come on the show. Who wants to see Cecil come on the show? So, you know, it's tough because it's gone for so long. And, you know, people are only alive for a certain amount of time, but the government continues, right? The government continues to build and grow and build and grow. And I can only write letters for so long when nobody else is writing letters. And the government's going to continue to grow. They're not going to stop unless we stop them. I mean, we can't even. I mean, you can't even get somebody like Nancy Pelosi out of office who's been there her whole life. We have idiots in Congress. I mean, that's. I'm not joking. That's not funny. We have idiots in Congress. All of the talent in our country is in private business or in like local law enforcement or civil city departments or firefighter. Like all of our talent is not in government. Like, shouldn't it be backwards? You guys want to hear my top 3 presidents? Okay. I'll tell you my top 3 presidents. Number 1, well, number 3, I guess. Number 3 is George Washington. So George Washington, first of all, when he left the presidency, at the time, he was the first president of the United States. Nobody knew what the hell that was. Nobody knew what a president was. Nobody knew what they were supposed to be. Nobody knew what they were supposed to do. When they elected George Washington, they thought it was going to be him for life, like a king, because that's all they ever knew, right? He stepped down after 2 terms. And he stepped down after 2 terms because he felt that it was just too much for one man, that you should do your civic duty and then you should go home. And he set that precedent forever. It still exists today. A president can only run for 2 terms or 8 years. Number 2 is Ronald Reagan. And you know, there was a lot of stuff in his presidency, like the Iran-Contra, which he had reasons for. That's a whole nother video. I love Ronald Reagan. My daughter is named Reagan after Ronald Reagan. I love his message. So Ronald Reagan is the last American president to push civil liberties and civil rights and individual freedom, right? That was his entire platform. That's what he pushed. And that's what America's all about. And nobody talks about it anymore. Nobody talks about individual freedom, individual rights. No conservative even talks about limiting the government anymore. The right and left are both for big government now. Ronald Reagan would flip out if he ever heard somebody, we need to grow the government. That's number 2. Number 1, easy, Thomas Jefferson. My favorite, right? I do have a very special piece of history, which is across the room, and it is a piece of George Washington's hair. I own it. It's his actual hair. It's just a small little piece that I paid a lot of money for that's framed, sitting right over there. Very creepy, I know, but awesome at the same time. All right. I like President, let's see, Cecil. I like President Donald Trump. He did what he said he was going to do to President John F. Kennedy, was murdered after my parents, and President George Washington. Awesome, man. Those are three good presidents. Yeah. Good stuff. I like Donald Trump too. I don't want anybody to think I don't, because I do. Do I think he's one of the top tier presidents? I don't think he really had the opportunity to get done what he wanted to get done. I mean, we had one of the best economies ever under Donald Trump. I don't care what anybody says. Stock market booming, prices down, gas down, jobs everywhere. It was phenomenal. Now, you can't even hire people. Nobody wants to work. I love President Reagan, Cecil. I like him too. Actually, I just was in Dallas, Texas, not too long ago that you brought up JFK, and I went to the museum, the Assassination Museum. And did you know that I almost said John Wilkes Booth. Jesus Christ. Lee Harvey Oswald was a Marine, right? So I always watch all these documentaries, and I watched the JFK movie, and they're talking about that Lee Harvey Oswald, there's no way he could make that shot. There's absolutely no way he could do that because he did it with an old Italian bolt-action rifle in less than 6 seconds and scored 3 hits, including a headshot, right, on a moving target. And I always thought that was interesting. So I actually went to the museum and I stood right where he stood with the rifle. You can go there in downtown Dallas. I stood there. They have the X where Kennedy was shot, and I looked and I said, "That's easy. Anybody, I could make that shot." So my conspiracy theories kind of went out the window with that. That was my experience. I also went to the George Bush Presidential Museum, and I got a signed copy of his book. He wasn't there. He happens to sign probably hundreds of them and then sends them there. So it wasn't that cool. I just paid a lot of money for a signature, which, I mean, is it really his? I'm sure it is because it's at his museum. But his museum was actually kind of oh, I understand, Cecil. Well, I hope you're doing okay, man, and I hope you're feeling well. I hope you're working on that and getting through that, and I hope everything works out for you. But I do enjoy having you here, and I enjoy having you in the comments. Let me see. The rifle scope was faulty. He couldn't make those 3 shots. Maybe. I mean, I never heard that one before. JW, thank you for coming on the show, man. Welcome. I haven't heard that the scope was faulty. That's the first time I'm hearing that. But if it wasn't, he could make those shots. That's what I was saying when I was there. I also went over to the grassy knoll. Has anybody else been there? I also went over to the grassy knoll, and that was kind of cool. And then looked at where the shot was, and you could definitely make a shot from there too. I'm just saying, it was right there. But they had the Zapruder film, and they had the boxes. They had the rifle. They had the rifle was there on display. Pretty interesting. An American Rifleman, the magazine. But the George Bush Museum was really cool because George Bush gets a lot of criticism for the war on terror. And that was something I was a part of when I was in the Marine Corps. I was in the Marine Corps from 2005 to 2010. I was an infantryman. I was an 0311 rifleman. So that part of history is very close to me. And it shaped a lot of my behaviors and political philosophies. But they had this simulator there. And you would sit in the simulator and you would have buttons at the George W. Bush Museum. And on the George W. Bush Museum, you would have an advisor come on and give you a piece of information, right? And they would say, "We found this in Afghanistan. What do you want to do?" And it would give you like 3 options, and you choose the options, right? And you'd go through it. It's like a 10-minute simulator, and then in the end, you had to decide. What are you going to do? Are you going to invade? Are you going to go to the United Nations, or are you going to do whatever, right? And I chose invade. I guess maybe because I'm a warmonger. I don't know. Maybe because that's what we did. I don't know. But from what I was seeing made sense. So I said, okay, it's time now, right? And then the second I did that, a video of George Bush popped up and said that he chose to go through the UN resolution one more time. So if it were me, I would have invaded before he did. I thought that was kind of cool. Cecil, my rifle is the same as used on my President Kennedy. It's bolt action. The federal government killed our president. There's a lot of interesting facts about the JFK assassination. There's a lot, and we could talk about this for ad nauseum because people have. So the biggest factual evidence, right? So Sam Giancana, the mob, right? Russell Bufalino, the mob guys got with Joe Kennedy, RFK and JFK's dad, and he was a bootlegger. He was a massive bootlegger. That's how he made millions and millions of dollars. He went to them. This is all true. This is not a conspiracy. Joe Kennedy went to the mafia and said, "You need to get my son elected president. I need your help." They've been working with him for years. Years. They've all made millions of dollars, which today would be billions, bootlegging back in the 20s. And they went to the unions and they pushed it to get him elected. They used Jimmy Hoffa, right, of the Teamsters Union to get him elected. And it worked. It worked. They went to radio stations and beat the crap out of DJs and made them promote Kennedy all over the country. They wanted to get him elected, and then in return, they would leave him alone. But that's not what happened. Robert Kennedy was the attorney general who went after the mob, and then they both got whacked. So the part between all of the factual stuff and then the circumstantial of them getting killed is a interesting scenario. There's a piece missing, right? But then you also have the Bay of Pigs invasion, where Kennedy failed to send in the troops necessary to save the CIA agents on the ground, which pissed off the CIA and the mob, because the CIA was trying to help to get the mob into Cuba to get their casinos up and running again. Michael, yes, that was in one of the documentaries on JFK a while back. Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely, that's a fact. Those are facts. And then, they're going to Robert Kennedy went after Jimmy Hoffa. He went after all of the people that got his brother elected. But the problem is Joe Kennedy never told John and Robert that he did that. They thought he was a squeaky clean business guy. So they went after the mob, and he never took care of it. And then when Russell Buffalino, the mob guy, tried to reach out to Joe Kennedy saying, "Dude, WTF, what's going on here?" He was already like super old and was on his way out and couldn't process anything and do anything. So super interesting story. It's super interesting. There's more to the story there for sure. Let me go back to the news here. Let's go to CNN. Let's see what they have to say today. Latest headlines. LA City Council member faces fresh controversy after altercation captured video. Page 1, Donald Trump. Why a special counsel and special master have had a role in the Mar-a-Lago investigation. Nothing about Twitter. Oh, here's another one about Trump. 2 House Trump investigations, 1 month, many loose ends. The 2024 Senate playing field starts to take shape. And then here's another one. Trump obsession is very bad. Senate Republicans confront their problem after poor election showing. CNN poll views of the state. Nothing on Twitter. Nothing. They're not even trying to shut it down, which is the concerning part. Cecil. I had a family that bootlegged, but the pictures also show the government men in a bush with guns. I have so much history in my home. That's awesome, man. Where are you from, Cecil? You from Tennessee? Just a guess. I have no idea. When people say bootlegging, I think Tennessee. I don't. I mean, that's, I guess, Mountain Man whiskey. I guess. I don't know why I think that. That's on me, though. CNN politics. House Republicans brace for doomsday scenario if McCarthy falls short of 2018 votes. Nothing. 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 All right, let me keep going. New York Times. Let's see if they have anything. First page, Kari Lake. Transgender Americans feel under siege. I'm going to share this with you. Let's do that. Yeah, now you can see the screen, right? Perfect. The news stream is completely manicured, dude. And they're pretending like it's not. I agree, dude. I can't say that out loud, even though I just did. We'll see what happens. Transgender Americans feel under siege. Guys, they're under siege as political vitriol rises. Language about pedophiles and grooming of young children has intensified a movement. So, this is kind of how it starts. Let me clean my glasses for this one. Right now, the right is calling the transgenders and these people have mental illness. I mean, that's not my opinion. According to the Diagnostic and Statistics Manual, it is a mental illness to be transgender, right? It is a legitimate mental illness diagnosed by psychiatrists. So that's not my opinion. That is the opinion of the American Psychiatric Association. So this is how this goes. This is how the process goes. The right will come up with a term. They're calling them groomers because they're grooming children, right? Now, they're not saying which way they're grooming them, or are they grooming them into being, you know, homosexuals or whatever? Are they saying that? Or are they grooming them to believe that this kind of behavior is normal? Now, I'm going to be clear on this. You have every right to change your gender or have surgeries if you want to. This is America. You have every right to live with somebody of the same sex and have sex with them. Like, I don't think most people give a shit. You're free to do that. And history is wrong for stopping people from doing that. If you're not violating the rights of another, then government has no reason to be involved. And if two consensual adults want to do whatever they want, or three consensual adults, or 4 or 5 or 15 want to marry each other and all live in one house, and it's all consensual, that's not a violation of anybody's rights. Therefore, government has zero responsibility to be involved. So the right will call it grooming. Then the New York Times will do an article like this one. Transgender Americans feel under siege. Oh, I definitely don't subscribe. Yep. Not paying for that crap. Transgender feel under attack. Language about pedophiles and grooming. So here's what's going to happen next. They're going to put more stories. They're going to push this. They're going to push this. The grooming. Then all of a sudden, you call somebody a groomer on Facebook. That is now a violation of community standards, and they take you down. They suspend you. That's how this goes. Everything go on in Ukraine. The Biden family and communist Democrats push Ukraine into this war to get Ukraine president killed to cover up Hillary, Obama, and Biden's Dead's PF asking out America. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Cecil, but anything's possible. Talk about China, Iran, or Brazil. Well, Jim, China. Well, Apple. Did you hear Apple is assisting China in suppressing the citizens' voices? So Apple is working with the Chinese government to control the flow of information that citizens are giving to each other. And they've suspended airdrops and they've done a lot to assist the Chinese government because Apple cares about money. They don't care about your civil rights, right? They're a business. That's what they're in business to do. So if they're doing it with China, would they do it with the United States? I mean, that's a freaking valid question. If they're so willing to silence people in China with the click of a button in a totalitarian dictatorship, in an extraordinarily oppressive government, would they not do that here if the government was requesting it? Kind of like we caught them doing with Twitter. So that's another indication that this is happening, that Apple is so willing to do this to a communist regime for people who are peacefully protesting sometimes, or they're trying to push back against the Chinese C-word stuff restrictions, and they're in a situation now where they're taken to the streets. Michael, I would say yes, and they probably more than likely have already started this year. Dude, yeah. I mean, they did it with Twitter, so are they doing it with Apple? Now, I will tell you this, Edward Snowden, I don't know if you guys know who that is. I'm sure you do. You seem like smart people. Edward Snowden gave up the entire intelligence operation where they were listening to your phone calls, reading through your emails, monitoring your text messages, turning on your camera in your phone when you had no idea, turning on your microphone when your phone was off, right? Without a warrant. So it's an unreasonable search and seizure, a violation of your Fourth Amendment right, without judicial review, which is a judge. A completely violated program's been stopped. It's been shut down ever since Snowden took office. I mean, Snowden ratted it out. But then now he's hiding in Russia because he can't come back to the United States because he's a criminal for protecting and defending your Fourth Amendment protection, right? That's how government works. So he's now forced to live in Russia. So the point of that is in order for them to do that and accomplish that, who needs to help them? Apple. This was over 10 years ago. Doug French. Doug, welcome back, man. Thanks for tuning in again. Social credit scores are in the works. I have heard that. I want you to watch, if you guys watch Black Mirror, there's a Black Mirror episode on social credit scores where you can't get I love Black Mirror. It points out so many things that are comparable to our society and where our society is going symbolically that people don't pick up on. I freaking love that show. I wish they would make more. But they did a whole episode on social credit scores where this girl's going through. She's trying to get her social credit score up by being nice to people and increasing her credit score so she can get an apartment, right? Scary stuff. I have Apple, and I know they have been watching me since last year. Yeah, man. I mean, have you ever sat around? I sit around. My wife and I talk about this all the time. My wife and I will be sitting around, and I'd be like, you know what I've been thinking about, honey? I've really been looking at maybe getting a new vacuum. The vacuum we have now, it's old. And I think that we should get a Dyson vacuum. I'll look into that. We just say it. Never search it on a computer. Never email it. Never text it to each other. Just say it out loud, not on the phone, in the room next to us, next to each other with the phone present. And what happens? 10 minutes later, we'll be watching television and a vacuum commercial will come across the screen. Try it. Try it. Fake conversations about things you're going to buy, and then watch you find advertisements on it. Cecil, I stand with all patriots and my country. That's because you're a great American, Cecil. JW, they are pushing the trans movement to keep American kids from repopulating the country for the UN to make us slaves. I mean, where are you getting all that from, man? I'm not saying that's not happening, but where do you think that's coming from? I mean, what signs do you see that that's happening? And don't get me wrong, dude. I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm not trying to call you out, man. But it's important that we find the root cause and we connect all the dots, right? Um, before we come to a conclusion, because the rabbit hole that we have to stop each other, we have to stop ourselves from going into. You once you go down that rabbit hole, it's like there's no getting out, and it's also you can't expose it too, right? How are you supposed to expose it if you don't have all the information? Mike, yes, then it pops up on your device. Yeah, it pops up on your device. Or if you have a television and you don't have cable and you watch it through an app like Peacock or Tubi, where they have just like ads that pop up, or if you click an on demand movie with ads, then it'll pop up there, which is even scarier. So it went through your phone, went through a system, then pushed it out to all of your devices and hit you with all this advertising. Something fishy there. It's not coincidental. Although there have been a couple of times I've been thinking about getting something, and then all of a sudden I see an advertisement and I freaking panic. But that's got to just be in my head. There's no way. All right. Mike says he doesn't think it's the UN. So the UN is an interesting topic. The United Nations is gradually gaining more power and passing more world regulations. The United Nations has been talking about passing a world gun ban, and they, among all the other things that they do. But the question is the world moving towards a a one rule government, not a new world order, not listen, I don't believe there's a couple of guys sitting with beaver hats, smoking cigars, pinking the brain style, talking about taking over the world. I don't believe it. I don't, and it's not that it's not happening. I just don't see the evidence for it. I need to see the evidence. That's how I process things. But the fact that we do have a United Nations and that the entire world mostly are members of the United Nations, and the United Nations is now coming to where they're trying to pass world legislation, is that, are we going down that road where we're going to have a world government and a world council that sets regulations for the world, which would be a one world government essentially? UN Agenda 230. UN Agenda 230. I'll look that up because I think I know what it is, but I don't want to speak on it. Is this the sustainable development? Yeah, I've looked into this. They want prosperity, planet, peace, partnership, declaration. Yeah, it's like I said, stuff like that's concerning. We don't. I don't want a new world order. I don't want a world government setting regulations for everybody in the world. We can't even get our shit together in America, dude. Doug French. Too many world leaders admire the CCP. So, do they admire them, or does China provide them with cheap labor, and cheap products? So they beef them up to get more goods from China. That's the question um, that I would have on that. If you got to give to get, right? That's how it works. If China is giving this a company or an economy cheap labor and cheap products, then they're going to beef them up. So that might be part of it too. see what else is in the news. Let's go to Fox. I'm curious to see if they have Twitter files, page 1. Politics, number 1 story. Hunter Biden seen at Ritz New York City art gallery selling his paintings for up to $200,000 despite ethics concerns. A painting. Let's see what else. Biden administration's fund study on how to train drug addicts to distribute COVID tests. University of Idaho, Lawrence Jones. Here's some community members. Yeah, nothing on the. Oh, yep. Yep, here we go. Twitter, first page. Twitter was threatened by our government to come after me. That's true. So that's Charlie Kirk. The federal government did go after Twitter to go after Charlie Kirk because they did not like what he was saying. So that was disclosed. Now, if you don't know who Charlie Kirk is, he's a lot like me, just a little bit more famous. And he was in the recent Twitter file dump that came out, and they sent him. They went to Twitter and said, this guy is a threat to democracy. You need to shut him down. And they did. The federal government went to them with that for speaking his voice, which is the craziest, oddest thing in the world. John, I apologize for changing the subject, but what's your take on the Brittany Griner trade? Actually, John, I'll explain that because I just did a whole video on it yesterday, but it's like 20 minutes long. So I will explain it like this. Brittany Griner has come out and said she does not like America. She kneels for the national anthem. She hates America, right? We all know this. Ironically, she feels that America is oppressive and it violates people's rights every day, which it does, right? I mean, we just saw it with Twitter. But specifically, they're oppressive to minorities and females, is kind of her take. She goes to China with marijuana, which to a very non-tolerant country and a very oppressive country called Russia, and she gets picked up and arrested. There's also a Marine there, a former Marine who's been there for a lot longer than she has. She wasn't even there a year, and Biden traded a world, one of the world's worst gun runners for a marijuana charge person, because it's going to help him politically. Now, the question is, and left the Marine behind. So the question that I have is this. We don't know what happened in the negotiation. I don't know what happened in negotiation. A lot of people are very upset because of her statements about America and because of her kneeling at the national anthem. Now, as the President of the United States, do you have a responsibility to rescue citizens, no matter what their political beliefs are, from a foreign jail? Yes, you do. They're citizens of this country. She was born and raised in this country. But, unfortunately, not unfortunately, I say unfortunately because I don't agree with it, with her opinion. But fortunately, we have the right where she's not being suppressed for kneeling for the flag, and she's not being suppressed for saying she hates America. So those positions should and cannot be factored into the decision to get her home. Now, as far as leaving the Marine behind, I don't know the whole story there. If he's on the phone with Russia, or our companies or our government's on the phone with Russia, and Russia turns around and says, listen, we want our arms dealer back. We're willing to give you Brittany Griner, but we're not going to give you the Marine. Take it or beat it. Get out of here. That's your choice. What are you going to do? It's and that's just a completely hypothetical situation. I really don't know. He could have said, He could have said, I really don't care about him. I'm trying to get her out for the votes, which is what everybody's assuming he did. That's what people are jumping to that conclusion. And they feel, excuse me, and they feel that she should rot in prison in Russia for the next decade because she said she hates America. That's not how America works. I'm not happy she said it. I said this in my video yesterday. I was a wartime Marine. I've handed many a folded flag to many a brother's wife and many a brother's mother. Okay. I lost more friends than I'd like to remember. And I find that what she does is repulsive. I find that what she does means that she has a thwarted view on our country and what it means and what it stands for, and that she's confused. But because of that opinion, she should have zero effect on a president electing to get her out or not, right? But now let's go to the flip side. If he only cared about her and left the Marine behind, that's a major problem. I mean, this guy's a worldwide arms dealer that has caused more death than cancer, literally, and by dealing arms, and he is actively trying to ban assault weapons. So now he wants to actively ban assault weapons, but release the guy who's going to sell them to everybody. Sounds like he just built his business tenfold. Justin Castro said he admires the way the CCP gets things done. I mean, man, people have some weird opinions that they don't fathom the actual oppressive government that they have. You know, what was his name? Oh, man, what's his name? The basketball player that went to North Korea. I can't believe I don't know his name. Rod. I can't believe I had to Google this. This is embarrassing because it's right on the top of my head. Dennis Rodman. Thank you. Jesus. Dennis Rodman. So he went there and he was singing praises about Kim Jong-un. So these guys are manipulators. They manipulate entire countries to believe that they're a god. Like Kim Jong-un manipulates the entire country. They don't think he poops or pees. That's true. The entire country of North Korea believes that Kim Jong-un is a god who doesn't shit. He's never pooped in their mind. So these guys are very good at manipulating people and manipulating situations. And they put on a show. If you go to North Korea, they have fake supermarkets with fat kids walking around so everybody looks well fed, but it's all fake. The oranges are fake. The store's fake. It's not real. They're master manipulators. The Marine should have been the first saved. I mean, man, I agree with you. I definitely agree with that. I think he's been there longer. I think that should have taken precedence. But, you know, most likely he did it for his political reasons, to buy votes, which is why he got the WNBA player out. Which is a shame. I'm going to put this up so everybody can know that John gave me the answer, Dennis Rodman, and Jim helped him. So I appreciate that brain fart I had. So, but yeah, you know, that's a tough situation. She never should have been in Russia with freaking weed cartridges, man. I mean, that just shows what a dumbass you are, especially since you're a professional basketball player. Like, they brief you when you're going to a foreign country. And I don't know. I just don't get it, man. Swapping an arms dealer for that, you know, it's people aren't happy, but people forget. Americans have short memories. So, but 'tis what it is. So, you know, going through the news, it looks like Fox is the only one reporting on this. And Dan Bongino was targeted by the government too. He's a former Secret Service agent, and they went after him because of his opinion. The government did, using Twitter as a proxy. That's the biggest problem that we have. All right, again, guys, I'm going to post the link if anybody wants to jump on. It can be audio only, just like a phone call. We can turn the camera off, and nobody would actually know who you are. You can pick whatever name you want if you want to come on, but you know, it's an aggravating situation for the United States. It shows that we're just it shows that the Biden administration has zero ability to negotiate. That's like, hey, dude, I got this Mickey Mantle rookie card. I will trade you for a piece of string, a bit of string. Joe Biden, okay. I'll give you a piece of string for that Mickey Mantle rookie card that's worth $50 million. Okay. Because we didn't really get anything, right? I mean, we got her back, and it's just Cecil. Listen to our children should be taught the subject in school. As we are a child, will learn who they are and say it only for a man and woman to learn soon enough. I'm just going to read this in my head, Cecil. It's long, and I'll point out the talking points. A man for a woman to learn soon. I do agree. I think that parents should have a more effective role in children, not let the government raise them. I also feel that the let me go back to what you were saying. Less of our children get parents. I also feel that in school you should be learning certain things too, right? That you should be let me twist this because I'm losing. There it is. So in school you should be learning certain things. Like you should be learning what civil liberties actually are. Really, like you should have a freaking really good legal type course on civil liberties and what they mean, not a thwarted course where the government's always in the right, because that's the way that college is now, right? Not college, but that's the way public school is now, as they teach this freaking view on the American government, and that the government's always correct and accurate and just, because the people who win wars write the history, and especially people who won the wars teaching the history are going to teach it that they're the best and that they're just. It's just weird that every time in history the good guys have always won, no matter who they are. Right? Think about that. So Cecil's in Virginia. That's cool. I've been to Virginia a couple of times. When I was in the Marines, I was stationed in Chesapeake, Virginia, and Virginia Beach for a little while, not that long. Let's see what else is on Fox News. Scroll down, scroll down. Urologist, enlarged prostate. Do this immediately. Oh, never mind. That's an advertisement. It must have been something I've been talking about. So yeah, the Twitter files are going to keep coming out. The Twitter files are going to continue to show that the government was malicious in their dealings with violating civil liberties. And that is something that we just cannot forget, because that's what they're trying to do. So that's why they're not talking about it, because they want it to just go away. We can't let it go away. We got to discuss it. We got to fight it. We got to talk about it. We got to keep it in the public spotlight, in the public eye, and we can't let it die. So I want to thank all of you guys for tuning in. I'm going to take off and go to bed. God bless you. I thank you for stopping in and interacting with me. I appreciate it. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Share, share, share. That's how we boost the algorithm to get the message out. And I have a message from you, for Mr. Donald Trump Jr.
Ryan, Donald Trump Jr., good luck on the podcast, man. Thank you so much for the support of myself, my family, my father, but most importantly, the movement in our country. Hopefully you're as MAGA as it sounds, but appreciate you being out there. And as an American, you can do whatever you want anyway. So good luck with the show. Hopefully we can check it out on Facebook, Rumble, Apple. It seems like you're trying to get it out there. And so I wish you all the best of luck with that, being an entrepreneur and hopefully fighting for all that we believe in, man. So good luck out there. Look forward to checking it out. And when you get big, maybe you'll have me on, okay?
Hell yeah, DJ Jr. Again, I played that yesterday, but thank you, man. I really appreciate that. I appreciate our conversation. I don't know if you listened in tonight, but I know you said you were going to listen the other night. So, and I will get you on my show. I know you said when I get big, but you don't know. I'm already big. You think I'm not big enough for you, but I'm coming. I'm going to grow my audience, and I'm going to have you on my show, and we're going to sit down, and we're going to have a conversation. So, guys, thank you so much. I will see you guys next time. God bless America. Don't forget, we are not going to let this go. We are not going to forget it. We're going to talk about it until they do something about it. We're going to write our Congress people. We are going to write our senators, and we are going to keep this thorn in their side until they do something about it. And we're talking about the federal government's involvement in free speech. Thank you for tuning in. Good night. The world we live in is like no other at any other point in history. Current generations are genuinely confused people who believes the government is good. They fail to realize the system in place. A system has provided them with a scripted school of thought that has corrupted their historical view. The public school system, news, and Hollywood have drilled a unified message into society. That message is simple. Be a good citizen, do what you're told, guns are wrong, the government is good, and the only free speech that is allowed is one that doesn't hurt anybody's feelings. We are taught never to question authority and always obey our masters. The United States was founded to protect human beings from living in this society. Oppression was supposed to be a past practice, but now, one man can sign a piece of paper and force you to accept a needle in your arm. But nobody seems to recognize this. Like cows smiling as they are led to the slaughterhouse, they willingly accept this. And if the government can do this, what else can they do? We have all been fed lies, and it is time to set the record straight. We need a revolution of knowledge. The knowledge that has vanished, suppressed deep under years of disinformation. My mission is to spread this knowledge. The truth that we do not hear these days. The truth that is suppressed by the corporate media, government, and social media. We can change the status quo. With biased so-called fact checkers and corporate search engines banning unfavorable opinions, it is going to take private funding to overcome this. Subscribing to this channel costs 99 cents a month. And for that $1, you can contribute to spread the knowledge and free exchange of ideas. Get exclusive content that gives you the ammunition you need to change minds. Exclusive content that gives you the accurate history that will show you and others the society we live in is oppressive.
My name is Ted Nugent, and I got a call from my buddy Ryan F. Samuels, and he wants me to tell you that he's a working hard, playing all-American son of a bitch who is celebrating God, family, country, and the success column of working hard, playing hard Americans. He's a conservative blogger who would love you to subscribe and visit his website. It's ryanfsamuels.com. ryanfsamuels.com. A promotion for this Facebook page and a subscription to his blog is what I'm here to do. Because if he's contacted me, he's probably rock solid in the asset column, and you